Remember, before we take that trip down the history highway, think about leaving a like at the bottom if you like it, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to tell me how I'm doing. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back to business here. Let's get down to business. Let's talk about a fateful day in the history of the world, even though we thought it was going to start off to be a day of hot wings, football, and soda and hanging out. We think about June 28th, 1914 as just any other Sunday. However, shots ring out. Bombs go off. Things happen that change it from the course of history that we know it as. This is now, instead of going to be the day of football and hanging out and chilling with your friends, it's going to be the day that the match lit the fuse that exploded the bomb that was World War I. This is what set all of the World War I items into motion. I know in our previous video we discussed all 5 of those mania ideas. And now we're just going to look at one of them. We're going to look at that last one. We discussed militarism. We discussed alliances. We discussed nationalism. We discussed imperialism. Now we're just going to hit on the assassination of the Archduke. Now, let's think about this for a second. People had colonies. Colonies, as we remember, are countries that you control for your own benefit. You have things you can get from them. You have resources. You have markets that you can sell things at. You have land that you get. The more population you get, the more colonies you get, the stronger you look. Everybody looks at them and goes, wow, they got a lot of colonies to them. They must have some power. So at this point, we have the Austro-Hungarian Empire that is still kind of strong, but a little bit on the decline. So they take over a colony of Bosnia from the Ottoman Empire, which is now Turkey. While everybody else is getting their freedom, Bosnia is not. So we have now increased tension between the Austro-Hungarian Empire and Bosnia. Here's a picture of old King Franz Joseph, who's racking his brain trying to figure out a way to make things better, to make things right. How do I do this? What do I do to make it better? I don't know. What am I going to do? All these thoughts must be going through his mind. So his best one is to, hey, the light bulb goes off and goes, bing. Hey, my best idea is to send my son, Franz Ferdinand, who's going to be my king in a couple of years when I kick the bucket, to that very same place, Bosnia, that hates us so much because we're not giving them their freedom, right? Wanted their freedom and they weren't happy about it. Let's send them to Sarajevo. Which, if we just stop right there, it just sounds like a ridiculous plan. Let's think about this for a second and think about from a not so historical point of view. I control the country. I have a son who's going to be my king in a couple of years. I have a colony that hates our guts because we're not giving them their freedom. What am I going to do? I'm going to send my son there. That makes a whole load of sense, right? Okay, but not only do we send him there, because this is what he decides. In order to smooth over relations between the two countries and make everything all nice and better and good and happy, and we're going to sit around a fire singing Kumbaya and holding hands and roasting marshmallows, we're going to send him to this place to do that. He's going to smooth everything over, right? And not only is we're going to send him there, but we're going to send the route that he goes on a week before, and we're going to publish it in the newspaper. What could possibly go wrong? Anybody? Any ideas? What could possibly go wrong? What could happen with this? You send your son to a country that hates him and give him the route where he's going to be. Nothing could happen, right? Everything's going to go fine. Yeah, I think Rip is probably going to be your best bet on this one. Because the headlines are going to read something like, Austria's heir to the throne is slain with his wife by a Bosnian youth, capital Princip, to avenge seizure of his country. So, I mean, the idea that the avenging seizure of a country is really strong wording. But we look at this guy, because he wasn't given his freedom, his country wasn't given his freedom, he shoots and kills the guy. Right? He shoots and kills Franz Ferdinand. the Archduke of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But let's stop there for a minute. Let's take it back a couple of steps. We send our son to this place. Bright idea from the start. Let's send him here. And he's going to go on parade, and he's going to go meet people, and he's going to go shake hands, kiss babies, make nicey nights with everybody. All right, he's going to ride down the street doing the permanent wave thing that they do in the Miss America pageant. And right, it's going to be all that championship stuff, ticker tape falling out of the sky. Until he reaches a certain corner where a bomb gets flung at his head. Lightning quick reflexes, he knocks it away. Hits the guy behind him. Sends him to the hospital. But hey, I'm okay. Now, I don't know about you. We stop right there and I say, well, self, bomb gets thrown at my head and I have to swat it away from me and my wife and it hits somebody else. What am I going to do? What do I do, self? What do I do? I hightail it out of there, get on a plane and go home. Which most normal people would do that. Most normal people would hop on a plane and go home and call it a day. This guy decides, I'm going to go to the Garrison Hospital. I'm going to go see this guy who just got knocked out for me. On his way there, Gavrilo Princip, who you see pictured in this frame, in the middle, jumps out, shoots 2 bullets. One hits my wife in the stomach, knocks her unconscious, and she dies a little while later. Next one hits me in the throat, knocking out my jugular vein, and I bleed to death in the car. All of this could have been avoided had I turned around, hightailed it out of there, and went home. But I didn't choose to do that. So now we're thinking about this. And my dad looks at it and goes, well, let's see, they killed my son because they wanted their freedom and we wanted to give their country a place in the sun. Who do you think could have been responsible? What could we possibly do? How do we move on from here? July 23rd comes along, almost 3 weeks later, and they send an ultimatum to Bosnia, to Serbia, I should say, pardon. They send them an ultimatum to Serbia. It says, you have 48 hours. You turn over the people that were responsible. You do whatever else we want, or else we take action. The immediate reactions are, oh, bad. Oh my God, I can't believe it. What are we going to do? Sorry for the loss of your future king. Meanwhile, they're probably thinking things like, sorry, not sorry. And then, of course, the leadership is saying, well, now that we have this ultimatum from somebody who's many times the size of us and a lot stronger than we are, we have to think about how we're going to do this. It's got to be very carefully thought out, right? In the middle of our thinking, we hear Germany chirp in from behind and say, hey, Austria-Hungary, we got you back. And we think, oh, great. Why? Because that's like a really, really powerful country in Germany giving Austria-Hungary a blank check. When you give somebody a blank check, you tell them, fill it in, sign it. We'll worry about it later, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. So they're thinking about it, and they think, and they think, and they think, and they think. And their response is, sorry, we don't know who was responsible for it. It happened in our country, but we're not responsible for it. We don't know who did it. What can we do? There's no way we can track these people down. And of course, Austria-Hungary is not very happy with Serbia at this point because they're backed by the Bosnians and the nationalists who want to get rid of them. So, after the ultimatum fails, they look at them and go, hey, we'll fight. And thinking in the back of their head, hey, this will be over by Christmas. Easy peasy, right? Easy peasy war. So on July 28th, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. So poor tiny Serbia is about to go boom when a knock on the door. We start going 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess what? I declare world war. Because it doesn't just stay Austria-Hungary crushing Serbia. Now Russia, who is Serbia's friend, says, I want in. Germany comes from the other side. Hey, remember I said I had you back before. Here we are. Let's go. England jumps in on their side. Italy jumps in on their side. France jumps in. And then the Ottoman Turks come in later on. So we have one event, one singular event in history that is the match that lit the fuse that set all this in motion. But what I want you to think about after this is done is who's responsible for it? Who's responsible for lighting that match that set this into motion? Who is the one that you point the finger at to blame for this is your fault? Is it Franz Joseph for, I don't know, having the colony in the first place, not giving their freedom, sending his son over there like a lamb to slaughter? Is it the Serbians? Is it the Bosnians? Who is it? Who are you going to blame for this? Think about that. Also, think about leaving a like. Think about leaving a comment. Think about subscribing. Thank you for listening. Good night and good luck.